The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions by the government, by the people, by every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
Formerly acknowledged as the Star of David, the move to adopt this symbol for the flag of Israel angered many Jews who realized that the symbol is in fact not the Star of David, but a hexagram symbol that was used in the ancient mystery religions. Many anti-Zionist Jews have since gone on to participate in annual flag burning rituals. It is in the biblical figure of Solomon that we can trace the true origins of the six-pointed star or hexagram. Solomon called the star the talisman of Saturn, or what became known as the Seal of Solomon. As we see, the bull's head is enclosed in a six-pointed star and surrounded by the letters composing the name Remphan, the planetary genius of Saturn, according to the alphabet of the Magi. The bull represents Moloch worship, which we will look at shortly, but first we need to examine two passages from the Bible that provide more detail on Solomon. Kings 11, 1-5 in the Bible features this passage. But King Solomon loved many foreign women, as well as the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites, from the nations of whom the Lord had said to the children of Israel, "You shall not intermarry with them, nor they with you. Surely they will turn away your hearts after their gods." Solomon clung to these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it was so, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not loyal to the Lord, his God, as was the heart of his father David. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Ashtoreth here is a female goddess and the same goddess as Ishtar in Babylon, Isis in Egypt. The Romans called her Diana, and the Greeks Artemis, and the symbol is Venus. Milcom here is a male god, and its root word means king or Baal. It is the same god that is referred to as Moloch, or Nimrod in Babylon, Osiris in Egypt, Baal in Sidon. There are overlaps with Zeus in Greek culture and Jupiter in Roman culture. The symbol is Saturn. As the passage makes clear, Solomon fell in love with the women of Egypt and began to worship these false gods. Two other passages from the Bible directly reference the symbol of the star, or the seal of Solomon, or the talisman of Saturn. But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, and Chiun your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. In another passage, just before being stoned to death by the Jews, Stephen accused the Jewish leaders. And you took up the tent of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan, the figures which you made, in order to worship them. As you see, the star in the Bible is directly correlated with the god Moloch and Remphan. Remphan is another word for Saturn. If you study the geometry of the star, you realize it has 6 points, forms 6 equilateral triangles, and its interior forms a 6-sided hexagon. The 6 points, 6 triangles, and 6 sides of the hexagon equate to 666, the specific number that the Bible designated as the mark of the beast, or Lucifer's number. As Revelation states, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Kings in the Bible specifically link Solomon with this number. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold. The Bible specifically states that it was Solomon that used the star and not David. In fact, there is no evidence that David was ever associated with a star. We've seen how Freemasonry had been infiltrated and overtaken by the Rothschild Illuminati agenda. Here is what Albert Pike, a Freemason in the 1800s, said about the secret society. Masonry is a search after light. That search leads us directly back, as you see, to the Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the key of the occult sciences. The true philosophy, known and practiced by Solomon, is the basis on which Masonry is founded. It is not only Albert Pike himself who reveals the links between Freemasonry, Solomon, and the Kabbalah. The symbolism of Freemasonry and the Illuminati all overlap with recurring themes of Saturn and the numerology of 666. You see, what Pike is really referring to here is the occult practices of Solomon that are traced back to ancient Egypt and Babylon, and that secretly worship the god of Saturn, or otherwise known as Moloch, or Baal, or Nimrod. In 2012, NASA released yet another CGI image, this time of Saturn's North Pole. In addition to looking very fake and absurd, the image presents the world with what is termed as Saturn's hexagon. As you can see, when connecting the lines within a 6-sided hexagon, it produces other shapes. First that of a cube by joining 3 lines, and then that of a 6-pointed star or hexagon by joining 6 lines. Studying the root word of Kabbalah, I soon realized that Kaaba in Arabic means cube, and Allah means God. Therefore, the literal translation of Kabbalah in Arabic means cube god. And then it dawned on me, I had seen the cube before. In fact, I had seen it everywhere. Here is the cube, or Kaaba, in Mecca that forms part of Muslim worship. As you can see, those worshipping the cube form circles around it, much like the rings of Saturn. Here are Orthodox Jews in their morning prayer, using the tefillin, or the black cube with scrolls inside attached to their foreheads. Here is the Pope, with the 6-pointed seal of Solomon on his hat. Interestingly, if you take the 2D shape of the crucifix and begin to fold it into a 3D shape, it produces a cube. In Hinduism, the hexagram is more commonly known as Shakon. It is the union of Shiva, who represents the male, and Shakti, who represents the female. Hindus also refer to Shiva as Kabbalah Ishwara, the Lord of the Kabbalah. And did you know that there are huge monuments to the Black Cube throughout the world? Here is the 9/11 memorial from above. An inverted black cube within another inverted black cube. Furthermore, the Saturn symbolism is not just specific to religions and memorials. Even the everyday life of a so-called atheist is rife with Saturn symbolism. And this is not just limited to the cube itself or the star. The rings of Saturn populate our everyday world. We all live by the symbol of Saturn without realizing it. The symbol of Saturn is inextricable from the number 6. Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun in the heliocentric model. Also, Saturn Day, or what we now refer to as Saturday, is the 6th day. If you look closer at the Freemason square and compass, it is indeed a broken 6-star hexagram. When linking the letters that spell Mason on the $1 bill, you get a 6-pointed hexagram with the Eye of Providence, or the Eye of Horus, specifically highlighted. Horus, again Egyptian gods. Saturn has also become inextricable with Satan or Lucifer. As Manly P. Hall writes, Saturn has also been associated with Satan, and this for numerous reasons. First, many authors argue that the word Satan is derived from the word Saturn. Second, Saturn is associated with the color black, as well as Satan. Third, ancients considered Saturn to be the furthest planet from the Sun, the latter being associated with the principle of good. Saturn is consequently the celestial body that is the less exposed to the Sun's divine light, and thus associated with the coldness of the principle of evil. Finally, the great god Pan, the horned deity, represented Saturn in ancient paganism. This half-man, half-goat creature is considered the ancestor of our modern depictions of Satan. Pan was a composite creature, the upper part, with the exception of his horns, being human, and the lower part in the form of a goat. The pipes of Pan signify the natural harmony of the spheres, and the god himself is a symbol of Saturn because this planet is enthroned in Capricorn, whose emblem is a goat. The pagan Pan also has other guises such as Baphomet, the half-goat, half-human, who has associations with Satan and Moloch. Like Saturn, Illuminati Freemasonry symbolism is prevalent throughout our society in the form of corporate logos and, as Albert Pike said, Freemasonry is the following of the philosophy of Solomon. It is also inextricable from the symbolism of Satanism. Here are some of the most recognized corporate logos we come across in our society today. Rebranding of old Masonic symbols and the emphasis on 666. 666, or the mark of the beast, is repeated throughout corporate symbolism. For instance, World Wide Web, or WWW in Jewish gematria, is 666. It is also used for the logo of the Monster energy drinks. It is also a recurring motif along with the single one eye of Providence. Many celebrities and politicians have been photographed making the 666 hand sign around the eyes. The sign forms a 6 and the 3 fingers indicates 3 score, or in other words, 666. Zechariah 11:17 mentions the eye in specific reference to straying from God and into Satan worship. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. And as we see again, many celebrities and famous people covering one eye, a gesture paying homage to the Eye of Horus, the Eye of Providence, and the darkened right eye of Satan. We also see many make the Horn of Canuto hand sign representative of Satan. The symbolism is literally everywhere. For instance, why does the Vatican's hall look like a serpent? What are the dark serpent-like figures behind the throne? And why was the Vatican's telescope initially named Lucifer? I could go on and on about the abundance of satanic, Saturn symbols in our culture, from the prevalence of Egyptian monuments to secret gestures such as the vow of silence and the Masonic one hidden hand. But I think you get the point, and there is a wealth of information out there if you want to pursue your own research. This video is only supposed to be a very basic overview of this type of symbolism. It becomes confusing because the same symbol of Saturn, or Satan, keeps appearing in different eras and cultures under different guises. Much like Bauer changed his name to Rothschild, the worship of Saturn has undergone so many different iterations and changes that it becomes difficult to track. I feel that this is deliberately so. And this is the point. What the Rothschilds achieved with their centralized banking and Illuminati cabal establishment of controlled leaders in every industry, such as fossil fuels, health and education, is a highly disguised and masterly executed form of infiltration. They have controlled our access to knowledge from the beginning. The Natural History Museum at Tring belonged to 2nd Baron Rothschild and is located in a Rothschild family home. The League of Nations organized the inception of the Central Natural History Museum. E.L. Rothschild Limited, a private funded family investment company and established by Sir Evelyn de Rothschild and Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, oversees a variety of Rothschild's global investments. The company currently has interests in media, real estate, agriculture and luxury goods, with a significant previous positions in financial services, technology and communications. They even own 70% of Weather Central and all of its communications. As of today, the Rothschilds own over 160 central banks and control the finances of the majority of nations on Earth. In the year 2000, there were only a few countries that did not have centrally established banks. Any nation that resists their desire to control is demonized through the media and is usually bombed under the pretense of war or terrorism. Is this starting to make sense yet? As we saw in the previous episode, all wars are deliberately choreographed, as are all politics. The opposing forces of the political left and right is all theatre to produce the illusion of choice. They are all players on the world stage whose autonomy and real governing power is limited by the elite powers such as the Rothschilds. It is the same with corporations, products and the media. The illusion of choice, when in fact they are all owned by the same top of the pyramid companies that are in the pockets of the Rothschild elite. You can discover this yourselves by just following the money. The primary aim of the Illuminati cabal is to establish Novus Ordo Seclorum, as stated on the $1 bill, and which means a new order of the ages, or a new world order. The agenda of this order is to establish a globalist one world government, with a world military, centralized banking, health, education and religion. Here we can see the former Israeli president Shimon Peres, a Rothschild puppet, meeting with the Pope to discuss uniting all religions under one world religion. And I can bet you that the one world religion would carry the symbol of Saturn. Again, I will not go into much depth about globalism and the New World Order agenda. There is a wealth of material on the internet if you are interested. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are just one of the many governing cabal elite families that run and rule our world. Doing justice to the complexity of this would require its own video series. My main objective is to give you a brief overview of the Rothschilds power complex and its grip on our world, and to show you the prevalence of satanic symbolism that stems from this power complex, as it is the key to understanding the lie behind the heliocentric model of the Earth, and why they would deliberately hide that our Earth is a flat, disc-like plane. Despite being studied and used by different Jewish sects today, the Kabbalah is not exclusively Jewish. It has ties that go beyond Judaism. Jewish mysticism originated with the apostate Israelites and ancient Egypt and Canaan during the time of the serpent religions of the Ammonites, the Canaanites and Egyptians, all of which trace back to Babylon. And, as I have shown you, this is evident in the symbolism. Does this mean that Orthodox Kabbalah Jews secretly worship Saturn or Satan? No. What the Rothschilds and their puppets have successfully achieved is a worldwide worship of Saturn or Satan in its various guises through deception and infiltration without the world knowing it. I am not suggesting that Jews in general worship Satan, especially in their study of the Kabbalah, nor am I suggesting that Muslims in their prayer to the Kaaba or Catholics visiting the Vatican are Satanists. I am showing you that without actually knowing it, we are all in some way giving our energy and worship to this satanic lineage without realizing it. Even if you're an atheist, the black cube and Saturn rings are so prevalent in your life you may wear clothing with the symbolism on without even realizing. It is now important to return to the Big Bang. As I mentioned in the previous episode, the Kabbalah Ein Sof provides us two conclusions: that either the Big Bang has proven the Kabbalah and its teachings, or that the Big Bang theory was stolen from the Kabbalah. But you see, perhaps there is an even more sinister conclusion behind this. Perhaps, just perhaps, modern Kabbalists, or more specifically the Illuminati Freemasonry satanic complex, have figured out a way to force their beliefs onto others by renaming their views as science. Perhaps atheism is not atheism at all, but a deceptive form of Saturn worship, which encourages people to forsake the idea of God and creation and adopt randomness, nihilism, or the idea of nothingness, and is achieved through none other than widespread institutional control and infiltration of the sciences via the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and other puppets. And when met with any opposition is shame from the so-called scientific community. In a nutshell, atheism legitimized coincidence. What about all the central scientific figures supporting the heliocentric model and the theory of the Big Bang? Well, here is a photo of Zionist Albert Einstein dining with Lord Rothschild. Isaac Newton was a Freemason and had a keen interest in the occult. And all big NASA figureheads and astronauts are Freemasons and openly display this, as does Neil deGrasse Tyson. There exists an organization called the Anti-Defamation League, which serves as an instrument to try and convince everyone that any mention of the Rothschilds and their allies is an anti-Semitic attack on all Jews. This is given historical weighting by the Rothschild choreographed Holocaust and also controlled by the Rothschild-Rockefeller media complex. All major mainstream media outlets can be traced back to their control. As David Rockefeller stated at the Bilderberg Conference in 1991, we are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time magazine and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranatural sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries. The official controlled narrative states that the Rothschilds are Jews. They are not. They are Satanists. Satanism is the hidden religion that rules the world, and its presence is so prevalent and insidiously woven into the fabric of our everyday lives it is shocking. Its method of control primarily centers around deceit. Just as the Mossad phrase states, by way of deception, thou shalt do war. And I want you to really marinate on this. Imagine If you're that powerful that you literally own the majority of nations on Earth and most of the world's GDP, if you had an agenda, is there anything that would be able to prevent you? Would people in power or of fame be able to speak out against you without it having dire consequences? Really consider that kind of wealth and power. It is becoming more and more evident. We have been deceived on the true nature of our Earth. Do not take my word for it. I cannot just make claims that there is an elite body of people that worship Satan and have operated throughout time by deceiving the common people as to the true nature of the world, and that they have full control over all the information we receive. Prevalent Satan symbolism and the history of the Rothschilds is not enough proof or evidence. If Satanism is real, then I need to show you the true evil of such worship before I show you what they are covering up with NASA. Come with me now to part 7. We are nearly through this rabbit hole. During 2016, in the lead up to the presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, WikiLeaks published thousands of leaked emails sent and received by the Democratic National Convention. Many of these emails came from the account of Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta, who had a long political background being chief of staff to Bill Clinton and counselor to Barack Obama. The emails reveal corruption at the heart of the Clinton Foundation and the party's relationship with the media and banks. But there was something else hidden deep within these emails. As many began digging into the contents of Podesta's emails, they discovered bizarre references to pizza and other food. Phrases such as, "The realtor found a handkerchief, I think it has a map that seems pizza related," and "I'm dreaming of your hot dog stand in Hawaii," and "I consider ice cream, its purchase and consumption serious business," and "I think Obama spent $65,000 of the taxpayers' money flying in pizza dogs from Chicago for a private party at the White House not long ago. I assume we are using the same channels." Out of WikiLeaks' 2060 Podesta emails, there are 149 references to pizza, 73 references to hot dogs, 85 to cheese, 78 to pasta, 41 to sauce, 84 to ice cream, and 47 to walnut. All in very bizarre contexts that have nothing to do with food. Who sits in their office dreaming of a hot dog stand in Hawaii, or arranges to get pizza for an hour? And why are John Podesta, his brother Tony Podesta, and their affiliates obsessed with pizza? Pizza and hot dogs, you see, is actually code for something else. You've probably never heard of this because you're not a disgusting paedophile, but like the world of the mafia, paedophilia has its own language and code. To really understand this, we need to look closer at James Alefantis and the Washington DC pizza restaurant Comet Ping Pong that is referenced so many times in the emails and was often used to host Clinton and Obama fundraisers. Meet James Alefantis. In 2012, GQ magazine described him as one of the 50 most powerful men in Washington DC. How is it possible that a small restaurant owner even makes it onto this list? Let's look at the restaurant's representation of itself. Here is the artwork of Arrington D. Dionso that covers an entire wall space in the restaurant. Creepy people with antlers holding heads. And not the biggest Trump fan either. Nothing too bad, I guess, but these paintings certainly do not seem that suitable for a family-friendly place. What about some of the bands that play regularly at Comet? Images of blood and gore? Doesn't seem like it should be for all ages as the posters suggest. However, when looking deeper and browsing Alefantis' and the restaurant's Instagram pages, which have since been deleted, things become slightly more troubling. Why so many babies? Why the disgusting sexual references to pizza? Why is there a young girl in a t-shirt with pizza slut written on it? And why are his friends calling this the kill room? And just rinse it off when you're done. What's with the obsession with weird pandas and little coffins? And what the hell is this guy doing? This prompted me to go back and look closer at the artwork taste of Alephantis, Comet Ping Pong's Hired Entertainment, and the Podesta brothers. I stumbled on this poster for Comet Ping Pong, with what looks to be bodies floating away from a central body and becoming more opaque each time. Through this image, the poster directly references the work of Kim Noble, an artist with dissociative identity disorder and over 13 different personalities. Kim was a victim of satanic ritual sexual abuse and trauma-based mind control. She has openly discussed this, and it is reminiscent of the CIA's MK-Ultra mind control operations during World War II. The same operations that Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange explores. These paintings are highly disturbing, and it makes me feel sick just looking at them. Interestingly, here is one of her pieces called Key. Notice the Kabbalah Sephiro, or the Tree of Life. Why does Comet Ping Pong's posters reference these works? And is this just a coincidence? Well, perhaps not. Alephantis did own an art gallery called Strand on Volta in Washington, D.C. The Podesta brothers are close associates of Alephantis, with the former hosting regular pizza parties at Tony Podesta's house. Tony Podesta is a political lobbyist and art collector. Here he is standing by a huge piece in his house hanging from the ceiling. It is called the Arch of Hysteria and features a headless body contorted and twisted. It is also a reference to the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who left his victims in a similar pose, and reminiscent of The Exorcist, a film about demonic possession of a young girl. Other artwork displayed in Podesta's house are that of Serbian painter Biljana Đurđević. Here are some of his pieces. Podesta and his wife are also great admirers of Patricia Piccinini. Here are some of her artwork. Again, this makes me feel sick, and I have no idea why someone would want to collect this stuff and display it proudly in their home. This is not artistic, but grotesque and obvious in its reference to child predation. And then there is the case of those regular performers at Comet Ping Pong. Here is one speaking.
Welcome friendly people to Comet Pizza and Ping Pong. Have any of you enjoyed this special pizza here tonight?
But no, she didn't. She held on to that child all the way to the end. And the fucked up thing was really, it was after it was born. I had to put that shit down. Euthanasia. You're porn. I was like, is this what happens when we have babies? And it kept saying, I was like, all this noise.
What do they mean when saying they had to put that shit down in reference to a newborn baby? And again, this does not look like a family-friendly place in which all ages should be welcome. This is very creepy. It was not long after the WikiLeaks release of Podesta's emails that people started to put two and two together. And just like that, Pizzagate was born, which, through a lot of research and investigation, discovered that there was a huge network of child trafficking taking place in the heart of Washington, D.C., and which involved sexually molesting children and torturing them, and that the Podestas, Clintons, Obama, and other Democratic officials were at the heart of. All these weird references to food such as pizza, ice cream, chicken, walnut sauce, pasta, hot dogs was nothing other than the preferences of pedophiles. They use these codes to communicate, hiding things in plain sight and deceiving the masses to think they just like the food pizza. At first it was hard for me to get my head around, but there were just so many things that didn't seem right. For instance, why did one of Podesta's emails reference still being in the torture room? And what was this supposed kill room on Alephantis' Instagram? And then there is this email. Why is a close associate of Hillary Clinton emailing her to say that they were hoping to sacrifice a chicken to Moloch? Who talks like this? And there it is, the reference to Moloch. Something we did not explore in the previous episode, but it is vital to touch on now, is what Moloch, Saturn, Baphomet, Baal, Nimrod all had in common other than being demonic gods and synonymous with Lucifer. Why does the Bible call Milcom the abomination? You see, Moloch, Milcom, Saturn, Baal are the gods associated with child sacrifice. Jeremiah 32-35 states, "And they built the high places of Baal, which are in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to cause their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire unto Molech, which I commanded them not. Neither came it into my mind that they should do this abomination, to cause Judah to sin." This is why Saturn in old paintings is depicted as eating a child, and we see people offering a child here as a sacrifice to Moloch. It was becoming more and more evident something very bad was going on, and a lot of people were collectively starting to piece together the Pizzagate puzzle. But then the inevitable happened. The media, as they always do, intervened swiftly to do what they do best: improperly debunk the so-called theory.
A Kelly File exclusive tonight on the conspiracy theory that came to be known as Pizzagate. File exclusive, James Alefantis, owner of Comet Ping Pong in Washington, D.C. James, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What a terrible ordeal this must have been for you.
It has been. And it started to appear that images of children and other people were being taken from social media and blasted throughout the internet with this insane conspiracy idea filled with just lies about this impossible international conspiracy of human traffickers involving Hillary Clinton.
Oh my goodness. And you're a Democratic donor. There's nothing illegal about that.
No.
It doesn't make you a pedophile or somebody who's part of a child sex ring. One of the pictures that Trey showed in the report, people have been pointing to, well, look at this is evidence. There's a child with their hands taped down. And you say there's a very simple explanation for that.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you've had us on today. It's an incredible thing. We've invited your cameras into the restaurant because people have all of these ideas, and people use social media. This is a picture of my godchild in a completely innocent place, very happily playing with her sister. Her sister's taped her hands. Her parents are there. I put this on my Instagram with their approval. Right there, it sits there on the internet for a year and a half, and people start building these lies and falsities about innocent people and then spreading this image over the internet.
When people talk about fake news, you know, a lot of folks just roll their eyes like, oh, you know, whatever. People will figure it out. The truth is they don't always figure it out.
It's a pack of lies, and it's dangerous.
And to be accused of being a pedophile because you have emails that talk about pizza. When you run a pizza parlor, I mean, there are going to be emails like, well, the word pizza seems out of place. This is fake. Fake.
Thank you. It's true. Yes, it's like being terrorized. It's been over a month of daily death threats to me, hundreds of phone calls to the restaurant, asking for all kinds of wild things like ordering a cheese pizza, something that we just do. We're a pizza place,
right.
A family-friendly pizza place. We've been in existence for 10 years in the same location. So it was difficult and shocking. Now, our community has rallied around us.
Good.
So we have people coming in. There's families and kids. We're there. We have private security. We're trying to make sure that our staff feels safe, that our community feels safe, that our customers feel safe.
What's the bottom line quickly? What's the takeaway? What needs to change?
I think there has to be some way of breaking these things up. It's impossible that this news can go from one person to the next in a grand conspiracy theory, and there's no reporting, no ability to do anything.
I know Reddit has banned this topic on its website. I mean, slowly but surely, those who help fan it are trying to dial it back out of the safety, out of concerns for the safety of those who have been endangered by
Really, this could happen to anyone. It's not just us. It's any single person.
I know you said to our
I don't know about you, but this irritates me. This news anchor did not debunk anything. She protested that it was fake and portrayed Alefantis as a victim whose family-friendly business had been smeared by false accusations. Alefantis here is the bullied, and up until this point he was just an innocent man living his life of pizza making. Yeah, right, there is no investigation of Alefantis here. No probing, no challenging by the media. They just present a victim narrative and chant the word fake, fake, fake. And then the false flag came. A false flag is an operation committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning blame on a second party. They are used constantly by the Illuminati elite and media to control the narrative and direct attention away from various real issues. False flags take the guise of terrorist attacks, identity smears, and dangerous catastrophic events. We will be exploring the media in more detail in a future episode.
Julie drove from North Carolina to the Washington restaurant.
It was December 4th, and a man walked in the front door into a crowded dining room filled with families eating, carrying a loaded, large AR-15 assault rifle. Walked through this dining room here, down this bar.
Of course, he couldn't find the basement full of horrors because it didn't exist.
This gunman went to this one locked spot, and at this point he shoots his AR-15.
Well, he lets off his rifle?
Yes. Into this door, and the bullets went into our computer system here.
Can I have a look?
Yeah.
Just check.
And there's our computer system still there in our messy closet.
But no secret basement?
No.
So he realized that there's nothing there?
Yeah, and immediately laid down his weapons, and he surrenders to the police.
And he ended up just shooting a computer?
Yeah.
I like the symbolism of that. He shot the only thing that had actually spread the trouble in the first place.
Alefantis denies that Comet Ping Pong has a basement and therefore could not have a kill room. Yet why, in a previous interview with Metro Weekly, did Alefantis talk about storing tomatoes in the restaurant's basement? I find it highly convenient that the only bullet fired by the lone gunman didn't actually harm a single person, but went straight into the hard drive of Alefantis' computer, eliminating any possible evidence that could have existed to the child trafficking and abuse. It's also very interesting that the media does not actually reference the specifics of the WikiLeaks emails and all the disgusting artwork. Why not quiz Alefantis on all the small references to pizza, pasta and chicken? And I know, none of this actually proves there is a prevalent worship of Satan and a massive child trafficking ring, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We are just getting started into exploring the true nature of Pizzagate and what WikiLeaks and Comet Ping Pong have revealed. Let's look closer at this guy. Who is James Achilles Alefantis? Well, we know he had a long-term boyfriend, David Brock. David Brock owns Media Matters, a non-profit company dedicated to comprehensively monitoring, correcting and analyzing misinformation in the US media. How convenient. He has also been accused of paedophilia and exposed in past court cases with the documentary An Open Secret. Here is a picture from Alefantis' Instagram of David Brock and Lynn DeForester Rothschild. Another one of his Instagram posts holds some clues. The young man's t-shirt in this image is a French slogan that reads, "I love children." Could James Alefantis actually be a pseudonym and a bastardization of the French J'aime les enfants, which means I love children? And what's with the name Achilles? Well, here is Maria Achilles Rothschild, mother of Evelyn Achilles de Rothschild, who fathered a bastard child, Louis George Alefantis, in 1915, and who inherited the surname of his unknown mother. Louis's grandchild shares the same name as none other than James Achilles Alefantis. Look closer at the Rothschild family photograph. Is this shady character Alefantis? We know Rothschilds love changing their names and lineage. Well, even if he is a Rothschild, that doesn't mean that all Rothschilds are into disgusting paedophilia and Satanism, does it? Let's jump back to 1972 and look at some of the images of one of the infamous Rothschild balls. The invitation is written in reverse. Inversion is a big deal for Satanists. Interestingly, a lot of Kim Noble's work features text written in backwards. Here are the hosts of the party. We have seen this imagery before. The half-human, half-horned goat. And look, more horns. These guests are sporting Saturn rings and one-eye imagery. There are references to babies and children and weird bodies on the dining tables. Here is a more recent photo of the head of the Rothschild family, Jacob Rothschild, with so-called artist Marina Abramovic. They are standing in front of a painting called Satan Summoning His Legions. James Alefantis also features a picture of Marina on his Instagram. And this is where it gets unbelievable. In the Podesta emails, there are messages sent from Marina Abramovic to the Podestas expressing her excitement towards the planned spirit cooking event at her place. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more creepy. What the hell is spirit cooking? In 1996, Abramovic hosted a performance art event called Spirit Cooking, which is a ritualistic way of saying cannibalism. The event involved instructions, written in so-called pig's blood, stating, with a sharp knife cut deeply into the middle finger of your left hand, eat the pain. Look at this. This is not art. It is morbid and disgusting. But these millionaires and billionaires seem to love it. Here are some of the famous faces at these dinners, and other faces that work with Abramovic. Her Instagram handle is 666. She worked extensively with Lady Gaga. Gaga spoke about being left naked in the woods to fend for herself. These are the same methods of trauma-based mind control we see over and over again. Look closer at Podesta's middle finger on his left hand in this picture. Why does he have art depicting cannibalism hanging in his office? Why are these people attending spirit cooking events? This doesn't look like art. This looks like Satanism to me. And then there is the case of this restaurant. Notice the picture with Hillary Clinton? Look at their logo. In 2007, the FBI declassified documents outlining common symbols pedophiles use to communicate and signal one another. The triangle swirl indicates boy lover, the circular swirl little boy lover, the heart within a heart girl lover, and the butterfly a neutral child lover. The big heart with the small heart inside it also signifies the union between big, i.e. adult, and small, i.e. child. Here is Besta Pizza. Besta Pizza is a Portuguese word for beast. Notice the triangle shape. They changed their logo soon after Pizzagate blew up. Why does the Pope wear this symbol proudly? Why is Sheila Jackson Lee, member of the House of Representatives, wearing a ring with a symbol on it? Why does Theresa May wear the swirl symbol around her neck? And why did she try to lower the age of consent to 14? Why do the logos of famous children's sweets and snacks contain these symbols? Why are they on children's toys? Why do protection agencies for children also have the logos? What about Johnson & Johnson? Why did they put the logo on nappies? Is paedophilia and child trafficking really organized in such a global, institutional, widespread manner? Laura Silsby was arrested over child trafficking in Haiti under the guise of the Clinton Foundation and eventually let off. Keith Raniere and Hollywood actor Allison Mack was arrested for running NXIVM, a sex trafficking cult that branded their victims. John Agod, a so-called Brazilian healer, was arrested for trafficking on a grand scale. How has this become so widespread? Why do Disney films feature paedophile symbols regularly and references to sex and the Illuminati? And why the union between food, paedophilia and satanic spirit cooking? Hollywood is the key to understanding this question.
can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah. Not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Blacklisted from Hollywood years ago, Australian actor Mel Gibson disclosed off the record that Hollywood is a den of parasites who feast on the blood of kids. They are drenched in the blood of innocent children, according to Mel Gibson, who claims the consumption of baby blood is so popular in Hollywood that it basically operates as a currency of its own. The Hollywood elites are an enemy of mankind, continually acting contrary to our best interests and breaking every God-given taboo known to man, including the sanctity of children. It's an open secret in Hollywood. These people have their own religious and spiritual teachings and their own social and moral frameworks. They have their sacred texts. They are sick, believe me, and they couldn't be more at odds with what America stands for. I don't know how to break it to you gently. Hollywood is institutionalized pedophilia. They are using and abusing kids. And there he is. I thought we might see him on our journey down the rabbit hole. The White Rabbit. No sign of Alice just yet, but let's see. What Mel Gibson is referring to here is the drug adrenochrome. Its chemical structure is the shape of a rabbit, and it is produced naturally by our bodies. It is a chemical compound produced by the oxidation of adrenaline. Children produce the purest form of adrenochrome when exposed to high amounts of fear. The satanic ritual abuse releases a high amount of adrenochrome into the child's blood, who is then murdered. Drinking this blood then administers the drug into the system, causing an intense euphoric high. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas specifically references this drug, as does Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange with its Drenchrome that the protagonist and his gang put in their milk. It has another quality, however. It is an anti-aging serum.
To notice that blood specific means that young blood cells secrete some molecule or protein that helps heal the body and keeps it young. And as an organism ages, they lose the ability to make this molecule. Previously, it was thought that GDF11, a molecule that circulates throughout the blood, was the fountain of youth. But a recent study contradicts that finding. This new study, published in the journal Cell Metabolism, found that as mice aged, the more of this molecule circulated in their bloodstream. And as researchers injected aging mice with this molecule, the worse their muscles repaired themselves. So who really knows right now? But even though scientists are still figuring that out, other studies show that there's really something powerful about young blood. Other studies, like one published in journal Nature Medicine, found that young blood recharged the brains of older mice. Researchers ran mice through standard laboratory tests after they received an infusion of plasma from young mice. They did much better on the test than older mice without young blood coursing through their veins. In a similar Frankensteinian experiment, researchers stitched together older mice with a young mouse. They found that the young mouse blood rejuvenated the hearts of older mice. The older mice suffered from cardiac hypertrophy, a condition which thickens and swells the heart. After just 4 weeks of getting young blood from the other mouse, their heart shrank to a normal size. All of these studies sure make you want to drink a nice tall glass of young blood, eh?
This is what you look like on adrenochrome, and this is what you look like without it. Did you really think all these Hollywood actors were just naturally beautiful and young looking, and it was just surgery, and they never aged? Disney's Monsters Inc. is a metaphor for the extraction and industry of adrenochrome production and consumption. Like always, they love hiding this in plain sight. The picture of Dorian Gray is another loose metaphor for adrenochrome consumption. This is not exclusive to Hollywood and politicians. It is a much wider, ancient satanic practice that has its roots in Moloch or Saturn worship. If you didn't have cognitive dissonance from Flat Earth, you've got it now. And I know it's painful, but it is necessary. You have to know the world we live in to understand the enormity of their lies, control and crimes. And stay with me, I promise you the light returns in a very profound way in the next episode.